Hello, welcome to the programme. EU leaders have cautiously welcomed Donald Trump's signing of an interim deal with Iran after nearly 4 months of war in the Middle East. But it's only a memorandum of understanding, and Europeans know the US president too well to celebrate prematurely. Well, this conflict has led to the most severe disruption in energy supplies in decades, and the EU has scrambled to contain the costs. And so it's fitting that we should be talking about this to the European Commissioner in charge of energy and housing, Dan Jorgensen. He's a Danish social democrat, and he was Minister of Climate, Energy and Public Utilities in the Danish government. Welcome back to the programme, Commissioner.
Thank you so much.
What are your thoughts on this memorandum of understanding between the US and Iran? Do you think it means that the energy crisis is going to end?
Well, first of all, we very much hope so, that it will lead to a lasting peace. And we obviously, at the same time, are very well aware that if that happens, that's not the same as saying that then from one day till the next we'll be back to normal. It will take months to rebuild what's been destroyed in the infrastructure giving us oil. It'll take even longer in the gas infrastructure, probably years. Yes, we hope that this is a very positive news story and that this will lead to peace. But we are also very well aware that we still have some challenging months ahead of us.
Some have said that the response by EU member states to this energy crisis has been too piecemeal, too fragmented. Of course, you did propose a toolbox for member states, but we've seen big differences in their individual industrial relief measures or measures to help consumers. Do you think there should have been, with the benefit of hindsight, more of a kind of centralized crisis management response, perhaps along the lines of what happened after COVID?
I think that one very positive thing about the situation has been, first and foremost, that there's a consensus that we're much better situated at dealing with a crisis like this than we were in 22. Meaning that, yes, we have had a price shock, and yes, it has hurt industry and citizens, but not at all compared to how bad it would have been had we not done the things that we've done since 22, which is deploy more renewables, become more energy efficient, and diversify our supply chains on fossils. So that's number one. Number two, it's very clear that there's a consensus now also that we really cannot risk getting in these situations again and again. So we need to become independent. We need to have our own homegrown energy, and that is renewables. How to deal with a crisis when it erupts like this? It's clear that there's pressure on all policymakers and all governments in Europe to help alleviate some of the worst effects for vulnerable citizens, for instance, and vulnerable parts of industry. And member states have done so in different ways. We've tried to coordinate as best we can, and it's too early to say yet what the conclusion is, but I will cautiously say that we've done much better again than we did in 22, because we have managed to make sure that what member states do has been temporary and targeted when it comes to subsidizing fossils. This is important because otherwise we would risk undermining the more long-term transition.
Are there guarantees that it's temporary? Because, for example, the European fiscal watchdog, the EFB, has said that in the past subsidies stayed on beyond the worst of the last energy crisis, and then that created a bad precedent. Are these measures truly temporary then?
I do think that we've safeguarded with the state aid rules that we've put in place that a situation like that will not happen again. But of course, we will monitor this very closely. I do think, though, honestly, that all member states, if not all, then definitely most, realize that treating a crisis like this with subsidizing fossils is like trying to treat a patient that has diabetes by giving the patient sugar. It's not something that will last, and it will not solve any problems. So yes, I do have understanding towards those member states who really have had to do something on the short term, but we also do need to all agree that in the future, what really will help us is becoming more energy efficient and deploying more renewables as fast as possible.
We'll get back to that, but first we want to bring you our report by our correspondents here in Brussels, Alix Le Bourdon and Dave Keating, and this is The Energy Crisis is at the EU's Independence Day. Have a look.
This Belgian carrier has a brand new system. Their truck is being recharged using wind energy stored in a large battery. It's a solution that maximizes the use of green energy, and it was developed by this Dutch provider, already being used by around 50 businesses in Belgium.
We try to optimize the energy consumption and usage for our customers. So in fact, the load balancing between what you take off the grids and actually what you produce on your own. And that's what we try to maximize.
The growth of his business is also due to recent energy crises, the 2022 crisis following the invasion of Ukraine and the current situation in the Middle East. Geopolitical tensions that highlight European dependence and argue in favor of developing renewable energy.
Over the years, of course, it evolved. In the past, it was mainly about the climate and CO2 reduction. Since the different crises and the geopolitical situations that we face even today, it's more about how can we become independent from unstable political situation, unstable regions.
This paradigm shift is sorely needed by the European economy. With the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, the EU's energy bill has jumped by 27 billion euros. Growth forecasts have had to be revised downwards, around 1% for 2026, while inflation is rising.
We are in the exact scenario everyone wants to avoid. It's what we call stagflation, meaning very weak or negative growth with high inflation. Because it's actually an extremely difficult situation to resolve. This is exactly what happens with energy shocks.
However, the situation remains less severe than in 2022, which was primarily a gas shock. Nevertheless, Brussels is closely monitoring the budgetary responses of member states. The Commission has relaxed state aid rules to support industry, but this aid can only be temporary.
So, Commissioner, you've said that, and I think we can see in the report the importance of making that transition to renewables, but there are still no binding timetables for phasing out coal, oil and gas. Do you think it's time to put up the pressure on that and come up with a timetable?
Well, we do actually have a pretty rigid system of different targets and objectives in the European Union. Some will even argue that it's too ambitious. I'm not on that team. But remember the Green Deal, it is not only still in place, we're actually now supplementing it with new targets. So the 2040 target with 90% reductions will mean that we will phase out, especially in our energy system, very fast these fossils. Now, is it going fast enough? I don't think so, but it is going quite fast. Let me give you a few numbers. Last year, we deployed almost 90 gigawatts of new renewables. 90 gigawatts, that's enough to supply 90 million homes with electricity. Or, put a different way, it's almost as much as the collected production of nuclear electricity. So it really matters. Solar is moving fast. Electric vehicles are booming right now in the sales. So it's not going fast enough. We will also present a new electrification plan very soon, but it is going in the right direction.
Thank you so much for this discussion, Commissioner Dan Jorgensen, in charge of energy and housing. Very topical, as you heard there. That's all for this edition of the program. We'll see you again soon, and thanks for watching.